Hi guys, welcome to Tuesday's production day video. I mentioned in class all three of my classes of CIS 115 that we were going to be continuing with overloaded functions, and this is video 2 of 3 or 4. I'm not really sure how many it's going to take to get through this. To explain this one, the best way to do it is tell the story backwards. I'm just going to go straight to running this program, then go back and explain to you how it works, how I use classes, and how I used overloaded operators. All right, picture a number line. All right, enter a distance in feet and inches. So I'm going to go from 0 to something. All right, enter a distance in feet and inches. If I enter positive, I go to right on the number line. If I enter negative, I go left on the number line. So enter a distance in feet and inches. I'm just going to make this one 10 foot, 2 inches. I'm going to enter a second distance in feet and inches. I'm going to make this 2 foot, 2 inches. All right, on this number line, if I add the 2 foot, 2 inches, I'm going to end up with 12 foot, 4 inches. If I subtract it, I'm going to end up with 8 foot. That's pretty much what this program does. Right, so I added the two numbers and I come up with 12 foot 4 inches. I subtracted the first, I subtracted the second from the first and come up with 8 foot 0 inches. Need to run this again to show you a little bit more. Okay, enter a distance in feet and inches. I'm going to go 10 foot. I'm going to go 10 foot to the right. I'm going to go positive 10 foot. And the other distance, I'm going to go negative 10 foot and 0 inches. I'm going to leave it in this so it's easier to visualize. All right, if I add these together, I'm going to come up with 0 foot, 0 inches. Think about that. I added 10 and negative 10, and I come up with 0. First minus second, all right, 10 minus negative 10 is going to be 10 plus 10 is going to be 20. And that's what it would be on the number line. It would be going from positive 10 inches to negative 10 inches. The distance is going to be 20 feet. If you need to, I think most of you get the concept of absolute value and distances. But if you need to rewind that about 60 seconds and watch it again so you understand. You need to kind of visualize this to understand this program. All right, this program is called feet inches. All right, let's start with our header file. I've got in my private, I've got feet inches. You all would have guessed that. Also got something a little bit different. It's called simplify. And this is to handle values over 12 inches. All right, if I put in 14 inches, that's going to kind of throw this off. So it needs to simplify that and put the inches into feet. So if I put 1 foot 14 inches, it's going to come up with 2 foot 2 inches. So that's all this simplify does. Don't get too hung up on it. It's not really relevant. It's not super relevant for this program. You just have to understand how it works. Got two constructors. I got feet inches, and I've got where it's blank, and I've got where a constructor where you send it two integers. There's no need for a double in this because if you think about it, feet inches is sort of like a decimal. 2 foot 6 inches is like almost like 2.6, or it's really 2.5, but you know what I'm getting at. All right. So you really don't need, when it comes down to feet and inches, you really don't need doubles. So there's my two constructors, and I got two setters, two getters, and here's my two overload functions, overload operators. I'm going to overload the plus operator. I'm not going to use it like you usually do a plus sign where you add integers or doubles. I'm going to add feet inches. I'm going to add an object, two objects, feet inches. I'm also going to subtract two objects, 2 feet inches. I'm going to make a feet inch, and I'm going to make a second feet inch, and I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to subtract it using these two operators. So you can see you can make, when you run this program, the program just like constructors, right? It's going to sense that you're not adding um, doubles or integers. You're adding objects called feet inches. You're subtracting objects called feet inches. Let's go to our .cpp file. Here's the function I mentioned, the simplify. Like I said, if you're kind of curious, look at this a little bit deeper, but don't get too caught up in it. If inches are greater than 12, basically I turn it into feet and inches with these two lines. All right. Suppose I typed in 60 inches. It's going to divide that by 12 plus minus. 60 divided by 12 is going to be 5, and it's going to be 5 feet. Same thing, sending in 60. 60 mod 12 is going to give you a remainder of 0, and that's going to go to inches. So basically, if I use this with 60, it's going to be 5 feet, 0 inches. All right, the second one's getting a little fancy, but it's like one of those things. When I started dealing with distance, I thought, well, I've got to deal with absolute numbers. So absolute values are real easy in C++. I don't think we've needed to use them before, but you just need the C standard library to make absolute values work. All right, I threw in the absolute values. This is the else if for negatives. I'll let you read through this and play with this if you want. It's not relevant there's not going to be a quiz question. I'm not going to ask you anything on absolute values. You just need to know it's there. So I just did this for if the inches were less than 0. And I thought it was on the next page. It's on this page. So I wrote this out because I didn't think I could say this right. Definition of a member function simplify. This function checks for values in inches, member greater than 12 or less than 0. If such a value is found, the numbers in feet and inches are adjusted to conform to a standard feet and inches expression. If you're better with examples, this will make sense. For example, 3 foot 14 inches will adjust to 4 foot 2 inches. And 5 foot negative 2 inches would adjust to 4 foot 10 inches. That's what this here does. Okay. I didn't totally come up with this on my own. I've seen this before, and actually, just to save time, I just went to the internet, ripped it off, and cut and pasted it. Okay. I've used this several times before. All right. Now we're getting to our overloaded operators. These two functions are what this whole video is about. All right. So feet inches, it's going to return feet inches, which is an object. Feet inches, that's just the class. Operator plus. Okay. What this means is when it gets to a plus sign, this is going to kick in. Everything to the right of the plus sign is going to use the constant feet inches address of right. And this actually makes it a little bit easier. I'll get rid of the space in between this. Makes it a little bit easier to understand. All right. So inside of here, I'm going to call a temporary feet inch, a temporary object called feet inches. All right. Then it's going to be inches plus right dot inches, which is what we're sending it the value to. feet plus right feet, then just the simplify function up here to make it negative positive like we want, right? Then it's going to return temp. When it returns temp, remember, it's not just returning one value, it's returning a class, I mean an object. And inside the object is going to be 5 foot 3 inches, 4 foot 6 inches, something like that. So when I return temp, I'm returning a whole object. So I make a temporary object, right? Feet inches temp. So this is, think about this. This calls the default constructor. All right. And then we're going to, at the end, the one that we make and we modify through here. All right. By adding what's at the right. All right. Then we're going to return it. Same thing here. Right. Once we get to the minus sign of anything, this will make the program kick in and check. If it's an integer, it'll just treat it like a 4 minus 2. It'll just treat it like an integer. But if it all of a sudden looks and it's minus an object called feet inches, this kicks in. So that's what's meant by overloading. The program will figure out by what you're sending it what it's going to do with it. And this does the same thing. All right. And I get rid of this. I'm sending it the address of this right. Okay, feet inches temps. So inches minus right inches, basically what you sent it. All right, feet minus right feet. The simplify, we're simplifying temp. Okay, the one we made here and the one that we adjusted through these two lines. Okay, then we return temp, because right here it says we return a feet inch object. So we return it. All right. So there's my constructor, there's setters, and there's getters. Now let's go to source.cpp. All right. I needed int feet inches. All right. I'm making 3 objects, 3 feet inch objects, first, second, and third. All right. Enter a distance. You saw that I did that. I entered 10 foot 0 inches. Okay. Store the distance in the first object. So here it is. First, I'm storing the 10, and then I'm storing the 2. Then I'm going to do another one. All right. You have to remember, now this 10 and this 2 that I entered here is in first. Then I can use the same variables, feet and inches again, because as soon as I see them in, I'm going to put them in the second in the second object, the second feet inch. All right. Now I can do my overload, my overload operators. Okay. First plus second, the program is going to know when it sees the plus second that it's not adding an integer or a double. It's gonna know that it's adding an object. Okay, and it's going to go to let me go back to it. This is a plus. All right. It's going to go to my overloaded operator function, my overloaded plus. Then it's just basically going to see it out. Okay. Then it's going to still the first has the same 2 variables in it. Second has the same 2 variables in it, except this time I'm going to go to my overload subtraction operator, call it, and after I do it, just like I don't know if I mentioned this, after then I'm going to assign it to third. Then again, I'm going to see out third. I seed out the third object here. I did some more stuff with it. I subtracted first minus second, then assigned it to third. And now I'm going to see that out. Running this again to kind of go full circle so you can see this. 2 foot 6 inches, or 2 foot 6 inches on the on my imaginary line. And now I'm going to go, let's go negative numbers. Negative 4 foot 0 inches. So if you think about this, 2 foot 6 inches to the right and 4 foot to the left, that's going to be a distance of 6 foot 6 inches, right? But if you take like the midpoint of the two, it's going to be on the negative side. So let's see. If you add them together, you get minus 2 foot 6 inches. Because think this is 4 foot, this is 2.5 foot. If you add them together, the total distance first minus second is like the distance from one point to the other is going to be 6 foot 6 inches. But this one, think you go 2 foot 6 inches in this direction, then you subtract 4 foot. Yeah, you get minus 2 foot 6 inches. Had to think about that for a second. All right. Guys, take a good look at this code. Take a picture of this on the screen. Kind of run this through your mind. The key takeaways are these two functions. One, I'm overloading the plus operator. The other one, I'm overloading the negative operator. So in your next program, you're going to be doing some overloading. I haven't decided exactly what you're going to be overloading. But I think the tricky part people have to think about is overloading only goes in effect when you reach an operator and what's to the right of it is not the usual suspects, doubles, floats, integers. Okay, it's usually an object. Okay, that's overloading an operator. All right, guys, I will see you all on Wednesday. If you have any questions with this, be sure to ask.